Good day. Queens County District Attorney Katz is making an announcement with New York City Mayor Eric Adams and NYPD Commissioner Schul on a gun indictment, another gun indictment in New York City. So let's see what they have to say.
Adams, my understanding, Mr. Mayor, is that you may be the first time this office has been graced with the presence of a mayor.
So this is the first time a mayor has come to the district attorney's office in Queens County. She made sure to make that point, which that's interesting.
Is my understanding. So we thank you for being here today. We thank Police Commissioner Sewell, who is always here for us, and we thank her for that. Deputy Chief Savino, who is the commanding officer of the Gun Violence Suppression Unit, and Chief of Detectives James Essig. I do want to thank our executive over investigations, Jerry Brave, and of course, John Sennett, in charge of violent criminal enterprise, and all of the ADAs that are standing here with us today. Thank you for your outstanding work in the NYPD, and particularly of the NYPD. I'd like to thank the Gun Violence Suppression Unit. This takedown today had to be especially gratifying for the department, coming as you mourn the death, and we all mourn the death, of Officer Fayaz, a victim of gun violence. And I just want to note him today and make sure that we keep him in our prayers. My condolences and thank you for your outstanding work, commitment, and courage. It is enormously appreciated. I want to thank my Violent Criminal Enterprise Bureau for their outstanding work collaborating with the NYPD partners over the course of this 2-year investigation. Like I said, I'm joined here by the leadership of those bureaus. We want to thank them for the work they've done in combination with the NYPD. The reckless criminality we saw during this investigation is the kind of lawlessness that has killed law-abiding citizens of New York that have been caught in the crossfire of gang violence in New York. We saw that in the heartbreaking loss of Ms. Valinas. She was crossing the street in Woodside to go buy milk for her 2 young children when she was gunned down by a gang member shooting at a rival. Her killing led to the launch of this investigation into the violence between the rival subsets of the Crips in the community. Even though her murder was charged in a separate indictment, we knew that we could not rest there. We knew that we had to address the ongoing violence in that area, and her murder was a symptom of the gang violence and the warring factors permeating between these two gangs in these two housing complexes. As we will demonstrate in court with video evidence, no one on either side thought twice about shooting at a rival on a busy street. It did not matter that it was the middle of the day or that small children were present. They fired their guns. Bystanders be damned. On June 15, 2020, for example, Astoria gang members walked into the Woodside housing development and fired at a group of Woodside gang members who were in the courtyard along with other residents, including several small children. A Woodside gang member and an innocent bystander were hit. Similarly, on August 22, 2020, Astoria gang members entered the Woodside houses and shot at gang members who were among the residents, and their small children were at the playgrounds and they were on the benches. As residents scattered, including small children on bicycles, the Woodside gang members returned fire. Fortunately, in that one incident, no one was injured. It's a miracle that the feud between those two violent gangs has not claimed more lives. Their absolute disregard for the lives of their neighbors and the fellow New Yorkers only strengthens our resolve every single day. The single most important thing we in law enforcement can do to keep New Yorkers safe is to work together to hold criminals accountable for the bloodshed, heartbreak, and misery that they face. We will fight this plague of gun violence with everything we have on the streets and in the courts. We simply will not relent. As you know from your press release, after a 3-month grand jury, which, by the way, was a long-term grand jury at my request, which sat solely on this case, we returned an 84 count indictment against 23 of the gang members And we thank everyone involved in that for their work, especially the detectives that were involved in the investigation every step of the way, and the NYPD who goes in, finds these individuals, and makes sure that they are held accountable for the crimes that they commit. I would like to now welcome and introduce the mayor of the great city of New York, Mayor Adams.
Thank you so much, DA Katz. We served together as borough presidents, and we knew the impact of gun violence then, and now having you as a district attorney and your common sense approach to public safety is a real partnership. And we cannot say enough about the teamwork between the Queens District Attorney's Office and the detectives and the members of the New York City Police Department as we pursue those who are the most dangerous among us. Police Commissioner Sewell has made it clear that this is of paramount importance for not only the men and women of the NYPD and the District Attorney's Office across the city, but for the people in the city of New York. You know, just look at the numbers. You heard me over and over talk about recidivism, those who are part of a system that allows them to continue to perpetuate violence on our city. We need to have that collaboration to crack down and take down these groups. When you do an analysis, District Attorney Katz took down a similar dangerous group of people in Queensbridge housing. You saw immediately after that a substantial decrease in shootings and in homicides. I believe for a period of time you had no homicides in that area. Partnering with the crisis management teams that were involved in that area, we saw how the progress works and keep people safe. 23 people, 8 of them had multiple shootings. That believe our criminal justice system is something that they're not taking seriously. And this is why we must pursue those who are dangerously involved in these crimes. They had a total disregard for the safety of the people who are there. We're going to stop and communicate with the residents on the ground there. They have asked for this. The residents of Queensbridge, the residents of Astoria, 40 housing, all of the housing, they're not calling for defunding police. They're calling for protecting police and allow police to protect the people. Gangs plus guns equal graves. And our goal is to be proactive and not just one gun at a time, but to take down these dangerous individuals who are carrying these guns. These are illegal guns. Even when you color them purple, pink, and lavender, they still discharge death. They are endangering the lives of innocent people in our city. And they have no regard for the safety of the people who live in our city. And we are saying in the most clear and loudest voice possible that we're going to use every tool that is available to pursue them and take down the criminal enterprises that are creating the violence and death in our community. And before I depart and turn it over back to the district attorney, we know of the incident that took place yesterday in Bay Ridge. The police commissioner will be doing an announcement later on today. Our hearts go out to the families. I visited the families in the hospital yesterday, 2 of the victims, and I visited and communicated with family members of the one deceased. He leaves behind children. He was a single father raising those children on his own. Just a terrible tragedy. And I just want to thank the New York City Police Department for taking appropriate actions to apprehend the driver. But again, DA, thank you so much for being a great partner.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to hear from our great police commissioner of the city of New York and the city of the NYPD, a very welcome sight in Queens County, always here, and we thank her for her involvement in almost every case that we do here in Queens County.
Thank you. I too echo the mayor's sentiment. Our hearts are with the families and victims of yesterday's horrific incident. And thank you, Madam DA, for your kind words about our member who we lost. Today, we are highlighting the work of our gun violence suppression unit and the skilled, exceptional professionals of the Queens DA's Violent Criminal Enterprises Bureau. But this critical work is done every day citywide by the hundreds of patrol and investigative units across the NYPD. The indictments announced today are the direct result of the exceptional collaboration between the Queens DA and the NYPD. These investigations are crucial. The dismantling of these gangs is essential. And as we have seen over the last year, apprehending these criminals is imperative. Together, we are continuing our fight against illegal firearms in our city and against anyone who terrorizes our neighborhoods. We're here in Queens talking about dismantling these crews and gangs, but we have been at podiums like this over the last several weeks and months, announcing with our partners several takedowns and indictments of other gangs and crews who believe that they too could create a culture of fear in our city. Those who believe that are wrong. We will be back with more cases and more arrests wherever violent criminals threaten our communities. These are dangerous people, and bringing them to justice is a dangerous job. But nobody does that job better than the women and men of the NYPD. In the face of unprecedented challenges, your officers continue to address unsafe conditions and apprehend offenders in our communities. And your detectives steadfastly work these cases that leads to the success we are reporting today. So thank you to our District Attorney, Katz, and your entire team for our partnership and the work you do in our collective effort to keep New York City safe. I will now turn it over to the commanding officer of our Gun Violence Suppression Unit, Deputy Chief Jason Savino.
And thank you. And I'll share the DA's sentiment. Happy Valentine's to everybody out there. You know, it's a real special day, not only for Astoria and Woodside, but for everybody. So with that, I have to start with, we all collectively share a vision. What is that? To keep everybody safe. We share a passion, a drive, a desire to keep our neighborhoods secure. And you'll see me reference to saying our, because we're all equal partners. What do we want in our neighborhood? We want to be able to walk freely amongst our peers. That neighborhood feel that just makes everybody feel safe. To live without the fear of gunfire and enjoy a quality of life we all deserve. And today, once again, we have brought this goal even closer. And I'm just so genuinely proud to announce that today, our beautiful Queens is just a bit safer, with some of the most dangerous individuals in all of Queens now in custody. But before I go into the investigation, I just want to extend just extreme gratitude to our case detectives. Detective Greg Papal and Detective Darren McFadden, whose expertise and dedication towards this mission of reducing gun violence brought us to this day. And I also just have to mention the supervisors of the case, the team leaders, Sergeant Sandy Rodriguez and Captain Ryan Gillis, who, along with all our many partners, which I'll ultimately circle back to, just provided such focused guidance throughout this entire investigation. And just quickly note, we're just so blessed with an entire team at Gun Violence Suppression Division. We love our community. Let me repeat that. We love our community. Our team cares for our community like we would our own family. We take our mission, obligation, and purpose of protecting our members. We take it to heart. We make it personal. So today's announcement, as noted, and more to come, it shows that our team will remain absolutely relentless in addressing this senseless gun violence. Let's get right into the case. So Actively Moving is an investigation addressing several gangs that have committed violence in the northwestern portion of Queens, namely True Cash Getters, an A-Trade Crip set stationed in Woodside houses, as well as King of Queens, G Squad, and Hip Hop Boys, all opposing Crip sets which frequent Astoria houses. This investigation addressed shooters. As with all of our cases, we're talking next level precision policing, where our investigation remained laser focused on trigger pullers, on those that fire bullets without remorse and without fear of consequence. 23 total subjects. Of those 23 subjects, 18 have been arrested for a shooting-related incident or are being charged with a shooting-related incident on at least one occasion. And as the mayor noted earlier, 8 of the 23 have allegedly fired a gun more than once. Simply put, these subjects are the alphas of the gang's most threatening members, that small group of individuals that have no problem shamelessly firing guns and endangering our great public. Every member in the community knows exactly who these individuals are. Why? Because they do everything they can to avoid them. Well aware that they can create threatening conditions and potentially place all in danger. And as noted, that includes children. Let's speak once again to the incident that initiated this case. So in March of 2021, the murder of Miss Guidelia Valinas. It demands repeating. 37 years young. She ventured to the store to buy milk for her two children, 11 and 9 years old. Just prior to leaving, Miss Valinas sent a picture to her husband of the food she had just prepared. Now take a moment to think about that.
Sad.
Miss Valinas is our American dream, whose life was suddenly halted due to gang members recklessly firing bullets with total disregard of anybody around them. Absolutely horrific. I know I've said it many times, but it also bears repeating. Fired bullets have no names. Fired bullets have no names, a theme we've so tragically seen too many times. Now, our beautiful members of Queens deserve to be able to enjoy the beautiful parks, walk along Broadway or Steinway Street without any fear of gunfire. These gangs did all they could to intimidate our streets, and we're all here to say quite proudly, no more. Criminality does have consequence, and this is exactly what it looks like. So in all, right now, 16 subjects are now in custody as a result of our investigation. I also want to mention this is one of numerous takedowns our gun violence suppression team has initiated, and we will never let up. We will keep our promise and our obligation with the ultimate goal of eliminating gang and gun violence. A lot of kudos around just to make this happen. First, a special thanks to the community that we so proudly serve. Our community. Traditionally, these cases have a tremendous impact upon depleting violence. If history repeats itself, and we're quite certain it will, you will experience a better quality of life. You will have that neighborhood feel that you deserve, and you will feel safer. We are gracious to be a partner. Thanks to us Queens squads, that 114 squad and that homicide squad, along with the 114 precinct and PSA 9 FIOs, field intelligence officers, our teams have held hands throughout this investigation, and it's certainly enabled great results. Our DA, Ms. Katz, we have stood here before, and we will stand here again. You've always dedicated and committed your entire team's partnership. John Sennett, in particular, is a godsend, along with Joanna Matuza and Andrea Sanchez. Our Chief of Detectives, Jimmy Essick, you created Gun Violence Suppression Division, and your mentoring and support has saved lives. What an awesome accomplishment. Our Police Commissioner, you hold our torch just so proudly, and your genuine passion towards keeping this great city safe is so heartfelt. Thank you for being our leader. And finally, Mr. Mayor, we are absolutely privileged to represent you. Under your guidance, our communities have so much to be thankful for. You have taken policing to the next level. This is why we became cops, to be the gatekeepers of our beautiful city, and you enable our teams to do just that. We are honored to serve you. Now, I know that's quite a bit of kudos, but it's also a reminder. If we all work as one cohesive team, and this is especially true during challenging times, if we realize and embrace that we are all pieces to this complex puzzle, and we will need every single one of us, NYPD, our partners, and our community, we will continue to curtail this senseless violence. We tackled this mission collectively, and as a result, once again, our community is safer. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the message is clear today. The guns will not dictate what happens on our streets. The guns will not be the drivers of what happens on our streets. Look at this team standing up here. You have the mayor of the city of New York, the commissioner of the NYPD, district attorney of Queens County, the men and women of the NYPD, the men and women who serve my office. Pick up a gun, Use it in our county, use it in our city. We will find you. We are investigating you, and you will be held accountable for those crimes. We've had enough. Thank you very much. I'm happy to open up for questions on topic. I want to just acknowledge my Chief Assistant, Jen Nyberg, who's here with us today as well. Huge part of all these investigations. Questions on the topic. Frank?
Hi, DA Hanson, Mayor Adams, Commissioner Sewell. This takedown that's laid on this indictment happened in a busy area on busy streets. Violence yesterday with the U-Haul also happened in a busy neighborhood. Does the city's density work against it? How can people be sure they're not going to be victims of a random crime, random violence?
I'll let anybody else take that who wants to. I can only say this. We are the city of New York. We are busy. That is what we do. We are economically driven. We are residential driven. We have people who rely on this city every single day for their safety and for their well-being. The NYPD is out there every day policing the streets. They will continue to do so. They can speak for themselves, and we will continue to prosecute and hold those accountable that do not let life live on a daily basis in our busy communities. Commissioner?
Yeah, I'll add to that actually. In terms of the density, we're talking about a concentrated area where this case was affected. And to your point about yesterday, and I won't go into details about that until later on, we are everywhere. The NYPD, there's no place we will not go to apprehend those that bring harm to our communities.
And I want to add to what Deputy Chief Savino said as well. Just to put this in perspective for everyone, Astoria and Woodside are 6,000 people. 6,000 people. These 23 individuals were able to wreak havoc every day in the community. Very small amount of people. You use guns, you use gangs. That's what happens. We will not allow it. Sir.
Why are these gangs using ghost guns? And have we seen an increase in individuals printing these guns?
We have seen an increase in ghost guns, but whether these are?
On this particular, in this particular case, we did not recover ghost guns, and there were no printed guns in this case. In other matters, of course, unfortunately, in this county, we have already seen 3D printing as far as firearms are concerned.
Yeah, and make no mistake, just because they weren't in this takedown, ghost guns are everywhere, and we are trying to get them off the streets as fast as we possibly can, and we're being very successful at it as well. You buy a ghost gun, we're probably going to find you.
Mike,
We look alike.
yeah, I gotta get straight about that. How cooperative was the community in getting to these arrests? Were they cooperative? And if so, could you kind of describe like what community involvement was in getting to this?
I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Savino to take that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, as mentioned, these are the individuals that are putting fear really in every resident's heart, if you will. You know, we are engaged with the community in a multitude of ways. You know, matter of fact, I was part of the mayor's task force, which offered so many different services to our community, engaged the community. Matter of fact, we have a meeting tomorrow in Brownsville, engaging the community. You know, specific to the 114, they asked for this to occur. You know, you have to remember, every community member is our next witness, is our next source, are individuals that we are here to protect. These are the people we serve. And we saw that throughout Astoria, we saw it out throughout Woodside, and as mentioned earlier, through the prior cases with Queensbridge as well. So the community tremendously receptive. They don't want to go home and have to walk around these individuals that place them in danger. They don't want to. And it's something that it's tremendously well received. And you see it just walking through when you get a subtle nod. That means the world to us.
And we have heard from a lot of the community members after the individuals were arrested and after the indictment came down, and they are happy to take a breath. Ms. Kramer.
I have two questions, one for the DA and one for the mayor. DA Katz, I wonder if you could tell us why these two subsets of the groups split, if there was some reason they split. And if you could tell us what the count was, like how many people were shot, how many people were murdered during the course of your investigation.
Well, like the deputy chief said, this was actually started with the murder of a woman going to get milk for her two children And I'll let the chief go through the actual numbers in the indictment.
Although there are multiple shooting incidents, but there are only 7 actual victims, 2 of whom were innocent bystanders, and the others were actual targeted rivals. As to why the violence occurred between these 2 sets, essentially it was, while senseless, it is personal between them. My name is Jonathan Sennett. I'm the chief of the Violent Criminal Enterprises Bureau, SENNETT.
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if you could, what message would you like to send to the residents of Astoria housing, Riverside housing, and other people who live in public housing that deal with the similar gang problem, the significance of this case?
Well, there was a part of this investigation that also include what I believe is one of the underlying problems, and that's social media. Using those who are using social media to taunt each other, and using a version of drill music, and it's not saying all drill music, and I want to be clear on that, but using a version of drill music to taunt and turn into violence. So what happens in social media impacts our society, and social media, they have yet to grasp what they're doing to our communities. And the message is clear. I mean, when we saw what the Queens District Attorney's Office and the detectives and her office were able to do in Queensbridge, it was astonishing immediately after that takedown, how it translated into safety. And we want active participation from the residents. There's an overwhelming amount of violence that surrounds NYCHA housing. And it is unfair to the tenants who are there because they too want to live in a safe environment. They don't want their playgrounds cordoned off. They don't want their children to participate in this fear factor. And so when we zero in on these areas, we're saying to them that they are as important as any resident. I think the Detective Bureau has been loud and clear, just the passion of the caring for the people in this resident. It hurts us. Anyone who has been in policing would tell you how devastating it is to go to a family member, knock on that door and say your child is not coming home. I don't know how many times the commissioner and I have been in hospitals hearing from family members. It takes a lot out of you. And these gangs taking them down is the message we want to send to residents over this entire city. We're not going to surrender our streets to violence. Now, there's a disconnect from the residents and those who state they represent the residents. I have not been to a community meeting, a civic meeting, a block association, a PTA meeting where the residents stated they don't want their police. I have not been in one location where residents said, disband, defund, take away from my police. I've heard just the opposite. Where are my cops? I want my police officers. And there's something that's securing and that's safe when you see that man and woman in that blue uniform.
Are you saying this kind of thing that sends a message to the people in the city council who are saying we need, especially the resident officers who say they want to defund the police?
It's a very loud, clear message. And what is interesting is that there are those who say they want to defund the police, have been reaching out to us for personal security, have been reaching out to us to get more police in their communities. And I say, well, you know, just as you hold a presence and say defund, hold a presence saying that you want personal security and that you want more police in your community. You can't have a public posture and then a private conversations. No, I'm not doing that. If you don't want police in your community, let me know, and I'll tell you the communities that will like yours.
Who are those people?
I'd like to remind everybody that of the 23 defendants, 18 of them, even though it's a conspiracy charge, and I want everyone to recall that too, 18 of them shot a weapon. 8 of them shot the weapons more than twice, according to the indictment. I think that's very important to acknowledge. Out of the 7 people who were hit with the gunshots, 2 of them are unintended targets. So I think we all need to keep that in perspective. This is a conspiracy charge because we need to send a message out that gangs cannot be your family, your substitute family. There are other types of activity out there. And if you are in a gang, if you are using weapons, if you are using guns, unintended people are going to get injured. And even if it's intentional, we are going to come out and investigate and find you. There are many ongoing investigations, and they should actually be aware of that as well.
Down there. Mr. Attorney Katz, are all 23 defendants currently behind bars and 7 victims, multiple shootings?
16, right?
What is the assurance we give the public that they're not going to go back to the streets before trial?
So we did the indictment pre-arrest. 16 of them are now arrested. The rest, I have no doubt, are going to be found by the warrant squad of the NYPD and be in custody soon.
One more. I had a question for the mayor. So you touched a little bit about recidivism. You've also spoken about bottlenecks. On topic. Yeah, I'm wondering, how does elements of this case apply to sort of these larger points that you were making? And is anything about this case going to help you speak to legislators at all?
I believe that it was just indicated that those who were part of the 23, many had multiple incidents. I believe the number was 18. And just think about it. Some of them were out for shootings. Some of them were out for other dangerous crimes. And it just fits into the overall conversation that the commissioner and her team, they have been stating for some time now. We have anywhere from 1,700 to 2,000 people who are committing repeated crimes. They just have a total disregard for the criminal justice system. They don't believe that they are held accountable. And if we zero in on those 1,700 to 2,000, you're going to see a substantial decrease in some of the violence that we are witnessing. And that is my message to the lawmakers in Albany. We have been having great conversations. The governor has been a real partner, and I've been speaking with the leaders and electeds up there so we can zero in on what we agree, the extreme recidivists. They are our problem, most wanted, and we must target them.
Last on topic back here.
I don't know if you saw this for Mayor Adams. On Monday, the Post front cover, we reported about more than 170,000 complaints of felony crimes, assault and Nazis in 2006. On Friday, we had a story about shoplifting crimes, more than 60,000 complaints. We're just kind of wondering, how's your administration planning to combat the surge, not just Mayor talking about?
Yeah, I'll take that. So I think we're all mindful of the fact that while we talk about our shootings are down and our homicides are down, one is too many, right? And we have other crimes that we have to focus on as well, and we're actually doing that. We had a challenging weekend, and we recognize that it's not just about the deployment of our resources, and we did move resources to be able to address those concerns as well. But there's a strategy that we have to put in place here. People are concerned about robberies, they're concerned about shopliftings as well because they affect quality of life. So we're tackling those crimes head on. And as the mayor said, we have some challenges, legislative challenges that we're looking at as well. But it comes down to being able to put our officers in the right places. So we're constantly evaluating those strategies and being able to tackle those other crimes as well.
And the commissioner and I want to be clear. The responsibility of people being safe in the city, that's our responsibility. And no matter how bad the deck or our hand is, we are not going to abdicate the responsibility. We have to keep the city safe. That is our job. And yes, we have challenges. Yes, we have people with mental health issues. Yes, we have some real challenges in our legislative bodies. But we are not going to say because of those challenges that we can't keep our city safe. Whatever hand we are dealt, we are going to drive down crime. We're going to do what we have committed to do. Continue to remove guns off the street, dangerous people off the street, partner with our DAs, prosecute. But we know this is our job. The buck stops here, and we're going to defeat those who want to keep us unsafe. Why don't we do a few off topics?